Live. Take me live now. All right, my computer tells me we're live, and I believe my computer every time.
Great.
So, hello, all. Hello, planet Earth. Hello, America. I am Dana the Angry Citizen coming to you tonight with my beloved friend, ally, sister, Peggy Hall of the Healthy American. And I am incredibly pleased and honored to have her here with me and to be podcasting together now. So, Peggy, first of all, welcome. I'm so incredibly happy to have you here with me and have you podcasting with me. It's been a long time.
It has, Dana. I'm really grateful to be here. We connected early on in all the hogwash, as I call it. And what I like is that you're still standing. I'm still standing. A lot of people have fallen by the wayside. And one thing that impressed me about you is that you are somebody that connects others, and you actually are a peacemaker. In our freedom movement, there are some people that are zigging and we're zagging. And then you're like, what, it's okay to zig and zag. So I really appreciate that about you.
Thank you so much. Wow. Uh, so, along those lines, I am attempting to unite as many constitutional Americans and powerful truth speakers and peacemakers as I can. And I have the privilege and honor of having my amazing friend and brother, Ohio Brett Ball, with us. And I introduced the two of you a long time ago, but you've been sort of running like you and I are. You're on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast, so we're both doing our thing, but sometimes we just don't have time to connect. And this is why I'm so excited to have you here and my other guest here as well at the same time, because it gives us that chance to connect and unite and unify. And my friend Ohio Brett Ball, we have been
There he
working together
is.
very cooperatively. We just hosted the second annual Maine Freedom Rally here in Maine, which was a smashing success. I'll send you the links. We had some powerful speakers. Carrie Motti came here. Dr. Merrill Nass was speaking. Dr. Paul Goslin was speaking. Ohio Brett spoke. I spoke. Uh, Sean McBriarty spoke. Tiffany Kreck of Health Choice Maine spoke. It was an amazing, powerful day. So, and I had talked to Brett and I said, "Have you met Peggy Hall?" And he says, I haven't yet met Peggy Hall. And I said, "You need to meet Peggy Hall." So, Ohio Brett, meet Peggy Hall.
Well, hello,
Here we go.
Peggy,
Yeah,
and
we did
Peggy.
speak
It's an
on the
honor to
phone.
meet you, and Dana, for your international audience. I'm stretched. I got my ankles taped. Many of you know that I take that sports background, and I was blessed to go to all 50 states in 12 months last year. Willing to do
You
it
did.
again. And Peggy, I just encourage everybody to get into that Bible, and then I want to connect
He
them to
does.
help. And so, Peggy, it's an honor to meet you.
Thanks, Brett. We did speak a couple of years ago when you were in California, and I was going in many different directions on the road, sometimes two speaking engagements a day. So I'm glad that we had that initial contact, and here we are.
And here we
Yeah.
are at Peggy. I've had a chance to watch some of your shows over the last near term. Just know this: I get people in all 50 states that say you got to meet this person or that
Yep.
person, and I can't watch all the videos, but I have watched some of yours. And I tell you what, your audience, if you're watching this right now, please go to Peggy's website and social and pray over her and give, because these warriors, you need funding to keep the dream alive. So I'm going to challenge all
Amen.
of you on this international show right now. Go to Peggy Hall's websites and click donate and give. And everybody has a different easy amount, whether it's $10, $100, 500, 1,000 or more. You will love Peggy Hall because you watch her and follow her and give. She needs the funds.
Yeah, it's true. And we all, we have bills to pay, and there's a huge sort of expense to be borne by all of us for doing this. I work a full-time job and get very little sleep and try to raise a kid and some grandkids. And, all I want is to be able to help as many people as I can, as effectively as I can. And all of us stand on that. And I know Peggy stands on that. And I even myself have thrown a few bucks for Peggy and I almost never do
Thank
that.
you. Thank
But
you.
yeah, I mean, I do when I can, and if we all do, we become very powerful, a powerful force. So use discernment, discern who really needs your help, who really could use this support and uses it wisely, and who is trying to trick you. And you will probably be able to discern one from the other if you really apply yourself. So throw in a little support if you can. Ohio Brett, God bless you. I'm so incredibly happy to have you as my friend and ally, and I'm so glad I got to, have you and Peggy both on at the same time and unite the two of you. And I know you'll be seeing each other in the future, because I think our destinies are all sort of aligned there. So I'm going to throw you out. God bless you.
Hey, God bless you. Hey, Peggy,
Enjoy your
we'll bring
cigar.
you on. I'm blessed to have a show on Variety on TV and the Patriot Party News. We'll do a home and home. Keep up the great work. God bless you, and we'll see you soon from the road.
Thank you so much.
Oh, this man is amazing. He when he first came to Maine, I thought to myself, well, one of two things is possible. He is either completely legitimate or he's entirely full of BS. There was no middle ground there. And he was like, I'm going to come back to Maine every year. We're going to do a Maine Freedom Rally, and third week of July. And I thought, I think he I think he's serious. I think he means it, and he does. He did, and so he came back, and we did the second, and we did the first one, which was attended by almost no one. We did the second one. We got a pretty decent crowd, about 60 people or so, roughly, in the theater. Plus, we're live streaming, so we're planning for July 20th, and you are invited, Peggy Hall. I know this. I know you're heavily in demand, and this is a long distance, and I get that, but my invitation is open to you and your husband if you are able to join us. It's July 20th, the third annual Maine Freedom Rally
I
here in
love
Maine.
it.
And if you could be here, that would be so wonderful and amazing. So,
Well,
and
thank you,
folks,
Dana.
please go. I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah, I was just
monopolizing
going to
you. Go ahead.
say it's really great that you are keeping that going because, in the thick of what we went through in the early days, people banded together, and it was literally like, come on board the ship, here's your place where you can be with like-minded people. And then as things started to ease off a little bit, and some of the illegal, unlawful, illegitimate, unthinkable, ridiculous, ineffective measures were softened a little bit, people started to go back to their regular lives. And that, to me, is the actual danger zone, because that's what happened in the beginning. People were asleep at the wheel. They gave over their liberty and their responsibilities to the public serpents, as I call them. And then they woke up one day to say, what in the world happened here? And they were really, as the expression goes, they poked the bear, and people woke up and rose up. And the danger is people thinking everything is over now and they can go back to normal. So there is no going back to normal. We want better than normal. So these gatherings of bringing people together, of having people share their perspectives, keep people engaged and encouraged, I think is so very important. I just think of myself as an encourager, and I want to help people not go down that psychological despair route, which is what the evildoers want. They want us to feel so overwhelmed by everything that's coming at us from all different angles that we say, what's the use? They've got it. They're going to run, the UN, the WHO is going to take over. And what I say to them is, who are you going to be if that happens? We've already had tyranny and totalitarianism and basically communism inflicted upon us, but I'm still living in liberty. I have not complied. And you know what, Dana, I'm still looking for ways to dial back my engagement. For example, I used to do all of my banking on my phone. I would just do everything on my phone because it was convenient. And I had to change my banks. And I decided I'm not going to do anything online. I'm going to do everything in person at the bank. That's a choice that I can make to keep those bank tellers hopefully employed. I love the personal interaction. I know that transaction was taken care of because it wasn't just going into some black hole. And so things like that. I do not use a self-checkout. There's another example. I will not shop at a store unless there is a person that is going to check out. And if I find myself in a lane and there's only the checkout, I will ask the person who's overseeing it all, you come check out my stuff. Do I get an employee discount here? I'm not trained. I didn't go through the employee handbook. I will say it out loud so other people will hear me. So those are the little actions that we can take. I drive a car that doesn't have all of the computer gadgets on it. I'm old school. I have a key that goes into the ignition. So little things like this that you can still do, regardless of whether the United Nations has taken over the country. You've got to remember that you are responsible for your own choices. And to make those choices will require some sacrifices, as we've been doing. But that's where us coming together, you bringing people together in these events, people realize, hey, I'm not going crazy. There are others that see things the way I do. It's very, very empowering.
Well, you said as we do, we sacrifice. That's very benevolent of you, Peggy, because honestly, you sacrificed. I've seen you sacrifice. I saw you go through hell, excuse my French, at the airline trying to get on the airplane where you had specifically called ahead of time asking them about their idiotic suffocation device, as you phrase it. And I love that. And I'm embracing it. That's from now on, there's no more mask. It's not
I
a
love
mask.
it.
It's a suffocation device. So you refused the suffocation device. And you told them beforehand, I'm not going to wear a suffocation device because in my world, it is evil, it is satanic, and my religious beliefs preclude me from wearing one. And I'm going to come and fly on that plane without one. And they said, yes, you're fine with that, ma'am, as long as you do it before X date. You showed up and they said, no, we're not going to let you on the plane. Didn't they?
What
Did
was
you
even
put on a suffocation device,
no,
Peggy Hall?
I did not do that.
Did you fly on that plane?
No, I didn't. And you know what, Dana?
And so they punished you. They
did.
You said no, and they punished you. They said you're not allowed to fly on this plane, and you didn't go. Okay, give me the mask. Give me the mask. I'll put it on. Did you?
No, I didn't.
No.
And you know what, Dana? I was on my way to a rally for freedom. This was in 2020. This was in
I remember.
like May or June or something like that. But the saddest thing to me of all, those that work for the airline, just following orders, what have you.
Yes.
What was sad to me were the people holding their signs like down with masks. I stand for freedom. And they got on the plane wearing a mask to go to the rally. And I'm like, you know what, you guys, the rally is right. The protest is right here in the airport.
It's here.
That to me, I almost two things could have happened. Two things could have happened to me, Dana. I could have thrown up my hands and said, why am I even doing this? It's a lost cause. If I can't even get the freedom fighters, the patriots on board, what am I doing?
Yes.
Or I could use that to fuel the fire, to use an untimely metaphor. I could use that to reinforce my convictions. And that's exactly what I did. I doubled down and I said, I am never, and I was never going to comply at all, but I am never going to stop talking about this, regardless of those that say, I mean, they're the lukewarm ones. And, I had it was a really difficult time for me to see that, because here I thought there were people that understood and that would stand by me. And my family did stand by me. And they said, you know what, Peggy, some people, like, they're not there. They are either not capable, or you haven't reached them yet, or they never will be capable because they're living in fear. But I'll tell you, Dana, some weeks later, I had two of those, and I wasn't even traveling with them. They just happened to be at the airport. It's not like we were all going together. I was flying there. They happened to be on the same plane. I saw they were wearing red, white, and blue with their banners and everything. And I thought they would stand in solidarity with me. And weeks later, we met up, we crossed paths at an event, and two different people came up to me. They apologized. I didn't want an apology. But they said, you convicted me. Your behavior showed me that I was lukewarm and that I wasn't going the distance. And they hugged me. They said, I hope you'll forgive me. I'm not, there's no apology needed, other than I'm grateful
they
that
needed
you
it.
Used that.
They needed, though, to tell you they were sorry, that you were right, they were wrong. And God bless them for having the balls to say, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I should have listened to you.
And I respected that. And, it made them stronger.
Huge.
And I think there are a lot of people, Dana, along the way. Some people didn't know how to stand up for themselves. They knew that it was wrong. Some people didn't know. They thought actually there was a law and they would be arrested.
Yes.
And many people were arrested.
Yes.
And then, but the ones that really bothered me the most, see if you agree with me, those that went along with it, it's like, I feel sorry for them. They can't figure it out. Those that knew it was wrong and knew how to overcome it and still did it, those are the ones that frustrated me the most, right?
Thank you.
And those are the ones that I really want to empower by saying, look, there is another way. And even if you pay the price and make these sacrifices, and for me, so what, I didn't get on a plane. It's nothing. You know what? My health is intact. My family is intact. I was going to tell you when we had Ohio Brett, I lost, let's see, at least 4 sources of income during the hogwash. So I had 2 part-time teaching jobs, right? One at a community college and one at a city where I was teaching some of my health and wellness things. The other, I was teaching English at the college level. Also, I had my own health and wellness business, and I was running health retreats for women. And at these health retreats, I would sell different health products that I personally handcrafted. All those 4 streams of income were shut off from me within the first month. I had an event scheduled the following month, and they said, obviously, everything shut down. You have to cancel. And everybody, canceled. I had given their money back. Then with the supply chain, being able to get my raw materials for the products, all of that went haywire. People didn't even want to purchase anything during that time. Everybody was locked down mentally. So I basically had a crisis of faith. I'm on my knees crying out, to God, saying, really, this is happening? Life was going great. I have no source of income now. What's next? So the message that I wanted to give was that God does provide. And he literally showed me through, I would say through prayer and my God-given conscience and discernment and intuition, to start educating others about what was going on. And that's how I started the Healthy American. So I was actually arguing with people on Facebook, trying to show them data and information, try to explain to them about their rights and that no one had the right to take their breath away. Their breath, their God-given breath of life. That's the most sacred activity that we have that keeps us alive. And then to turn around and state that suffocating yourself is somehow a virtue. It was actually an insult to the injury. And I could not stay silent about that. So I spoke out, really not about whether the mask worked or not. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is I don't have to wear one. And that's what I did, a video on YouTube. I didn't have any audio I just started a YouTube channel. I mean, I had nothing going on previous to that, really in terms of a YouTube presence. And I did my video about the, what was it? The emergency in California is null and void. And I explained why, how the governor was violating the law. That video went viral. And it was showing up on all these social media platforms I had never heard of, like Nextdoor and LinkedIn. Well, I knew of LinkedIn, but I was not personally on these platforms. People were reaching out to me, Dana, people that I hadn't seen or heard of for years. And they said, somebody sent me your video. Is it true? This is not really what they're presenting. And I said, you're absolutely right. This is a big hogwashing operation. That video got pulled from YouTube. I got a strike on the channel over, a period of time. I started uploading more
misinformation.
Videos. Yes. And before you know it, I learned how to outwit the nitwits. And I came up with my own vocabulary, like the suffocation device and the hogwash. And I call it, cooties and the cooties cocktail.
And the cupcake and
because you have to outwit them. And I never have hidden the truth. I always speak what I have discovered and the reality that I'm experiencing, but I use my own language and my own Peggyisms that people actually like, and they use them now as well.
We do.
And it's just a way to outwit the nitwits. And thank God I've been able to stay on YouTube as long as I have. I've had strikes over the years where you can't upload here and there. I remember, was on my second strike, which means they can take down your channel. And I value the subscribers that are there, that tune in. I do a daily broadcast starting at 4 p.m. Pacific, that's 7 p.m. Eastern. I do 1 or 2 live streams Monday through Friday. And it is what God told me to do. Fight and fight for freedom, expose the evil, be an encourager, and if possible, inject a little lighthearted, levity into it so that we're not so burdened. So I have my own sense of humor that not everybody gets. I understand. But for me, it's my way of poking fun at these public serpents and the WEFers and showing them that they have nothing over me, right? They have nothing. They'll never steal my soul. ever. You want to lock me in the 15-minute city? I'm still going to be happy because I know how to rise above that. And that's what we need to remember.
Wow, I don't even know what to say at the tail end of that. Woo!
Well, tell me
Peggy
about you,
Hall.
Dana. Tell me
Hang on,
about the.
hang on. Let me rein in. You just went through a lot. Let's rein this all in. So, and I've had several things I've been holding,
All right,
and I'm
fire
glad I
away.
held them because wow, that was amazing. I can't even believe I got that. That was all me on my show, Angry Citizen, Peggy Hall.
Love
Okay.
it. Love it.
So, the first time I saw you was when I was deep in the throes of vehemently opposing the scam-demic. Everything they were saying and trying to do, and I was fighting like a cornered Wolverine about this is ridiculous, these lockdowns, mandates, insane. And the mask thing was heavy on everyone's radar. It was masking, everyone masking, got to wear a mask. They're giving you masks at the grocery store, masking, people riding around by themselves in cars with
I'll
surgical
never.
masks on their faces, Peggy. What? God, I never thought I could live to see such a thing. I just want to cry. I just
And they're
want to be
still
like,
doing it. They're
what is
still
wrong with you?
doing it.
What do you think you're doing with you're sitting in the car with the mask on? So I was leafing through my plethora of stuff. I have so many, friends. Some are actually really my friends, like you and Ohio Brett, but some are people I have friends on Facebook, whatever. But they send me stuff all the time. So I have to pick through it and watch the videos and listen to the claims and try to track them down. So I sort of vaguely know what I'm talking about, like in the whole Lahaina thing, which we're going to get to in a minute. But um, it takes time. It's time consuming to sift through all this data and try to figure out what is real and what is not real. And lately, especially, I made a video about this, which I think you'll appreciate, where I talked about discernment. I wrote this for myself
Love it.
because so many people that are freedom fighters, truth speakers, whatever, are being we're told they get controlled opposition is always the phrase that gets thrown out there. So I have to doubt this person. I don't know if I can trust them. I don't know if I can listen to them. Well, God gives us discernment. We think, we reason, we use truth, logic, facts, evidence. We get to logical conclusions and we decide if this is the truth or not based on the path we've taken there. And the first time I saw you, you were talking about masks. And you gave a very cold, hard, logical, scientific, factual accounting of why the entire concept is ludicrous. Everything you said made perfect sense. And I was like, who is this woman? I love this woman. Just that's the facts, folks. She's putting down facts. You're blocking your breathing. You are impeding your own body's ability to draw fresh breath in, which you need with this device that's covering your mouth and your nose. It's a symbol of slavery and oppression and subservience. And you're not even, there's zero scientific data that has been presented to we the people to substantiate that that's something we're supposed to be doing or that's beneficial. The only thing we have is the word of this man, this Anthony Fauci, who simply declares by his decree, you shall wear masks. And everyone immediately says, I will start wearing a mask. And they all obstruct their breathing. And along comes Peggy Hall and goes, hold on. Whoa, 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 whoa. Before I strap this thing across my face, can you show me some science that substantiates that this is desirable? And can you demonstrate to me beyond a doubt that it's safe, has no harmful impact upon me? Because I submit to you that it does by common sense, that you're obstructing your own breathing. So God bless you for that. It gave me a moment of great. When I saw you, I was like, okay, now we're talking. I knew my sister when I saw her. I knew my sister right that moment. I said, that woman is amazing. And since then, I followed you diligently, and I've listened to many of your podcasts. And you and I have talked about podcasting for a long time, but you're on your end of the battlefield and I'm on mine. But today we're here. We're united. Okay. Peggy Hall's in California. I, Dana, the Angry Citizen, and here in Maine. And I'm telling you, we're united as Americans, as constitutional Americans, and especially right now, loudly and hotly demanding explanations and information regarding what happened to our countrymen in Hawaii. And both Peggy and I are mad as hell because we think the whole thing stinks. We think these fires, this fire, these fires were deliberately set, and that agents of our so-called government are probably involved, and we're mad as hell because lives were lost and destruction has been wrought. So, Peggy, I saw the video that you did about this and was mightily impressed with your absolute, again, recounting of fact and evidence. You know, we've seen Lahaina, we've seen the footage, we've seen the pictures of, and I'll bring this up, this so-called after, and we're told this was a wildfire. This was just a random fire somehow lit. They're trying to pretend that it was due to a power line falling over now, and it started the fire, and the fire swept through the entire town so quickly that people were forced to leap into the bay to avoid being cooked. And I'm submitting that I don't think it makes sense at all, and I know you feel the same way. So, do you want to start us off with that one?
Yes, you know, probably those fires are the only time it would make sense to cover your face if you're trying to, you know, prevent breathing in the smoke and all of that. Because I have never covered my face. I don't care if they help you to be 110 years old. I will never do so. But what happened now, I've been to Hawaii many, many times. The locals call it Lahaina, and that is one of the most sacred areas in the whole island chain of Hawaii, because it was one of the first capitals. And do you know, Dana, it was known as the Venice of Hawaii. There was water everywhere.
Wow.
And in the 1800s, when the big, you know, Dole Pineapple, he was the first so-called, you know, governor. I don't think that was the name they gave him, but when the United States illegally annexed Hawaii, he was the first one to be the administrator there, the government administrator, and his last name was Dole. And of course, that's what they started, was pineapple farming. And then came the sugar farmers, and they diverted the water to their farms. And so for well over, I mean, what is that, 100, 200, how many, math, I'm not a math teacher, but for a long time, for a couple of centuries, we've had this contentious stance between the colonists and the Hawaiians. I've been to Hawaii many, many, many times. It is a popular vacation destination, especially for those in California, all over the United States. But in California, it's, you know, you hop on a plane and you're there. Right. I went there for my honeymoon. I went there when I got engaged. You know, there's many people go to Hawaii frequently. I've been to Lahaina. I've been to Maui. I've been to all of the islands. The Hawaiian people, and you probably have seen this in the newscast and so forth, they have such a beautiful, generous, gentle spirit about them. The Hawaiians they call their family Ohana. And understandably, given their history, you know, they're understandably, you know, there's the outsiders, right? There's the Hawaiians and there's the outsiders. Mm-hmm. The governor of Hawaii is an outsider, all right? And I've heard from Hawaiians, healthy Americans that have contacted me saying he is not well liked. And very much like our situation here, where the occupier of the White House was not popular, was selected to be in that position. That's exactly what they feel about this. I call him Josh Green New Deal. Can you believe it? His name is Josh, like joking and, you know, not telling the truth. Green, right? Green New Deal. So I guess his slogan is "Burn Back Better," so he can push forth the United Nations agenda, as I call it. But I'll tell you what happened there. The area of Lahaina is very local. So there aren't a lot of high rises right there in that Front Street area. You've got the mom and pop shops, you've got restaurants, you've got clothing stores, you've got little boutiques, you've got it's a very local, community oriented place. In Hawaii, it's a melting pot actually from all different cultures that kind of, there are the native Hawaiians, and then there are the Kama'aina, the long timers, the old timers that have a mix of different heritages from other cultures like Filipino and Chinese and Japanese and so forth. By way of saying, the culture is very traditional. So in a lot of these families, they have extended families that live together, and you've got all of your aunties and uncles. And even if you just show up and you're a tourist, they might even, and you see a little child there playing at the beach, the mom might say, "Oh, say hello to your auntie." And suddenly I'm their auntie. So it's a very familial, a very warm and welcoming place to be. And I think that's why so many people love going on vacation there. It is a beautiful tropical paradise. And I think that was part of their evil, diabolical plan, was to associate paradise with the most heinous criminal acts, unspeakable horror and terror. And that's how they psychologically damage people. They did it in Paradise, California. There is a fire going on right now in Paradise, Montana, as we speak.
Wow.
The other thing that they did in California, they called the Paradise Fire the campfire. Now,
Yes,
if
they
you've
did.
ever been camping with a family, a campfire is something that's such a wonderful part of your childhood memories. You sit around the campfire, you roast the marshmallows, you tell
Right.
stories, you sing songs, somebody's got a guitar, you've got campers from the next campsite that come over. When I think of my childhood memories of camping in the campfire and being a Girl Scout, I have wonderful memories of a campfire. Now they have destroyed that by giving the name of this, the up until now was the worst disaster for lives lost in my recollection, with the Paradise Fire, calling it the campfire. Now we've got the Paradise Lost here in Maui. And I just wanted to kind of set the scene of how devastating it is. We're not talking about skyscrapers. We're not talking about people that by and large are the wealthiest part of the population. We're talking about the average family, working. A lot of these probably are independent business people, like, contractors and plumbers and electricians and painters and construction workers, working at restaurants, maybe working at the hotels. By and large, that was my experience of being in Lahaina. That was my take on the area.
So this images I'm showing you here, the before and after of Lahaina, which for people that have any sort of grasp of how fires work, we have to recognize the sheer staggering level of destruction of this fire, which defies the official explanation in any way. They are saying dry conditions and high heat. And okay, yes, dry conditions and high heat and strong winds absolutely do contribute to the severity and nature of fires, no question. But what you're looking at here and there's a wonderful video, and I'm going to post the link here in the comments that this woman created, which is just magnificent video of what they're not telling you about these fires. The level of destruction is wildly outside what is explained by a simple wildfire. Someone leaves a campfire unattended. It starts to spread. It goes to the woods. It starts moving forward, and at some point, someone becomes aware of it. And Peggy, I'm going to get to this in a second. Don't let me forget this, because
Okay.
I just watched your video a moment ago, and you posed some absolutely compelling questions about everything involved in this, the number of first responders, where were they, what water did they have, so don't let me forget that, because that's where we're going next. So what I'm saying is, if you look at this photo, America, and you really think about this, is this is so devastating. And look now, go back in history and look at fire sites where natural fires have occurred, and look at the buildings and look at the progression of the fires, and you're going to see this is wildly disproportionate. So we're hearing on the news, the so-called mainstream media, the mockingbird media, we're hearing they're big with Maui Strong. That's their current slogan, Maui Strong. And they show their reporters at Maui and people helping each other. But the reports we're getting from Maui say that that's not actually what's happening. What's happening is there's a lot of government agents there and agencies, and they're interfering with the ability of the local population to do whatever they want, interfering with their God-given constitutionally protected rights. And that's where we stand. And in overall looking at this whole incident, Peggy composed a absolutely marvelous, spot-on list of questions that should be being asked for everyone there. If you have that available, I'd love to hear it.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. And I have a final question that I will add to my list. And what I like to say to people, Dana, is that it's more important to have the questions, how does this go? It's more important to have questions that can't be answered. For example, how did it really start? Well, we might not ever know exactly how it started, whether it was plasma, sound waves, dew, energy, whether it was literally a spark that ignited. But whatever happened, we know that the evidence is showing us that it's not natural. But we need to ask these questions. Otherwise, people are just in the spin cycle. I have some simple questions. How many firefighters were dispatched to Lahaina? Now, there is a fire chief that was only interviewed twice. And one of the interviews with the U.S. Fire Administrator was filmed right next to the ocean, so you could not hear anything he said. It was about a 1-minute video filmed like on a cell phone camera vertically. It was very poor quality. This is from the U.S. Fire Administration. This is the information that they're gathering. The other interview, he had some questions from the press that was gathered, and it looked as though he had prepared answers. He only spoke at one press concert, as I call them, because they are performances, right after when all the cast of characters were on stage, but he never answered any questions from the press. So if I were a member of the press, these are the questions I would like to ask. And I would say the police chief is the most important person right now to be giving this information, because it was all about a fire. Why is the cheat of police, as I call him, on the scene? Why is he taking center stage? This guy that came directly from Las Vegas with that other false flag event.
Oh, yeah.
So he now is taking charge. When did you ever have a police chief taking charge of a fire
I'm going to throw in here.
investigation?
I have to do this. I hate to do it, but I have to do it. But what Peggy just referenced is the Vegas shootings, which the entire Vegas shooting thing stinks to high heaven. No one with a brain could possibly believe their narrative is correct. Guy supposedly brought 40 guns. 40 guns, folks. I am an avid firearms enthusiast, okay? And I'm going to tell you, if this were my mission, 40 guns would be about 37 too many.
Exactly.
3 is perfect. That's it. I have my 3. We're good. And I have lots of ammunition. That's what I would need. It was entirely false. So sorry, Peggy. I had to throw that out because
I agree with you.
We're on the same page, but let's just put it right out there. It was BS. The entire thing was BS. Go ahead.
People need to look into that with these so-called mass shootings, because I've done some training as well, and I will be standing, breathing, focusing, looking at a target. I can't even reach it when it's 10 feet away. How could somebody up in a high rise, and they're saying there were over 1,000 casualties? It doesn't even add up. You're not even going to have that much ammunition. And people, they're standing around waiting to get mowed down. None of it makes sense. You'd have to change out your magazine. Hey, friends, you've got to...
Well, and supposedly, the worst thing is supposedly he used a bump stock. And folks, if you're not a firearms enthusiast, you know what a bump stock is. But basically, it's a device that makes your semi-automatic firearm behave as if it's fully automatic. So you put it over your the grip where you're holding on to the weapon, and what happens is when you shoot, it automatically sort of moves the weapon in a fashion that reloads it, and your finger on the trigger ends up being more or less a fully automatic. So it's just firing ammunition, but you cannot hit the broadside of a barn. It's an absurd way to simply burn off ammunition like it's free, and no one in their right mind would do it unless you were... If you're actually trying to hit something, it's utterly pointless. So the whole thing was absurd. It was patently absurd.
Yeah. A thousand injuries, and I guess maybe several dozens of casualties. So they say, you know how many rounds they would have to get 1,000 injuries? It's not possible. And it just doesn't add up, just like this doesn't add up. So here are my questions. How many firefighters were dispatched to Lahaina? At what time? How many engine trucks were on the scene? Where were they dispatched? Like what were the, roads or the intersections? How many hoses were turned on and used? How many structures did they put those hoses on? How long did the firefighters stay on the scene? When were they told to stand down, and who did so? This is the most important one for me, Dana. Who was the incident commander? Who was on the scene? Was it the police chief? Was there a fire captain? Who were these individuals? None of them have been interviewed. Who filed the incident report? And where is that incident report? After every incident, there's paperwork that's done. I watched Hawaii Five-0. I know about the paperwork.
Book 'em,
And
Dano.
I don't mean to make light of this, but yeah, book 'em, Dano. Who filed this incident report? And by the way, that should be public knowledge, because
Yes.
this was a public event, and those are public serpents. Who in the fire department is conducting this investigation? And why is the chief of police, Pelletier, handling this scene instead of the fire department? And my final question that I didn't say on the previous video, and I think this is the most important question of all. Dana, you tell me if you heard anybody ask this or anybody answer it. I have heard no one. How did the fire finally go out? How was it extinguished? If it was this great wildfire,
Good
which
one.
by the way, it was a residential fire. There was nothing in Front Street, Lahaina, that resembles anything like a brush fire. Outside of the town, yes. And that could have, I'm not saying that couldn't have burnt in from upcountry a little bit, but once it takes out all of those residences, it is not a wildfire or a brush fire. It is an urban fire. It is a residential fire. And I will also tell you that I have studied fire science over the many years, because here in California, they're always inflicting this terrorism
Yes.
upon the unsuspecting population. And do you know what, Dana? These videos are being scrubbed from the internet. I remember
Yes.
watching, this is what I want everybody to do. Try to find a fire training video where firefighters are going in, where a structure is intentionally burnt to the ground. And guess what's still standing? The structure.
Yeah.
Okay. You do not have, because once the fuel is used up, basically the frame of the house, in most cases, it's charred, but it's still standing.
Yes.
You do not have twisted metal in a house fire. You certainly do not have a porcelain sink, bathtub, and whatever else, your fireplace turned to dust. And Dr. Judy Wood has done a lot on the dustification with 9/11 and so forth. This is not normal.
You're right.
An outdoor fire burns at 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit, anywhere between 800, 1,100, 1,200, up to about 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit. I want everybody to understand that. An outdoor fire or a structure fire, a house that's on fire, a kitchen that's burning, it gets about as hot as 1,400 degrees. In order to have heat enough to melt metal, whether steel, aluminum will actually, it's a little less hot, but any of these like cars, the engine blocks, any of that, you need 2,500 degrees at a sustained period of time, something rushing through. They said that Lahaina was burnt down in 17 minutes. That defies gravity too, and defies logic. Let me tell you
It's
this,
insane.
Dana. One of the videos that is still standing on YouTube, I have to go back and get the link. Somebody was on a construction site, and they had built these houses that were not occupied yet, meaning there was nobody in them, so there was no risk of danger of life. But the houses were all built, and the guy's videotaping it, and I think one of the construction workers had left on something, I don't know, a welding machine or whatever started the fire. But the point is this: it took 40 minutes, 40 minutes for wooden houses, for 5 wooden houses to burn. 40 minutes. How can an entire town of Lahaina burn to the ground in 17 minutes, including melting metal and twisting metal, and having the bathtub and other porcelain items turn to dust? But nobody ever answered the question, well, how was it extinguished? We heard that it was too hot for the fire trucks, that nobody could go in there. Well, how did it get put out? Did the wind die?
Yeah.
Was it an act of God? Was there a Nanook from the north give a big How was it
Valid question.
put out? There was
Valid
plenty
questions.
of fuel. If you're telling me that cars are now flammable and metal ignites, then there were plenty of cars still on the street. There were plenty of houses that were unburned. There were plenty of trees. So how exactly was this fire put out? Who put it out? Who was on the scene? Who has eyewitness evidence? And why are you not sharing it with we, the people? That's called critical thinking and digging deeper.
Peggy Hall, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we love you. This is why we love you. So, wow. You know, God bless you and your husband out there on the West Coast. I'm sorry we haven't been able to connect more, but, you know, I know you're out there swimming through alligators. I'm here in Maine swimming through alligators. They just passed basically full-term abortion here in Maine. It's despicable. It's despicable. You know, we're at war. If people don't see it, they don't see it. And you know, Peggy, I'll tell you something. You honored me earlier because you spoke about the fact that we met, what was it, like 2-3 years ago, and we're both still here.
Right.
And virtually all the people we were hanging with and circulating with are kind of no longer here. You see, you notice that Peggy and I were working with other people very cooperatively, and I thought on a really good path. I was very excited, and a lot of the people, most all of them, sort of vanished. They just kind of like mist in the morning, you know. And here I am, and here Peggy is. So God bless you for that. I feel as if we're making progress. I feel cautiously optimistic, very cautiously optimistic. The most important thing we keep getting back to, you and I both, is the unity, communication, cooperation. You know, stop being divided by meaningless labels and unite on the purpose. You know, that we all know right from wrong. We all know good from evil. We all demand the truth, and that's what Peggy and I have been on about since day one. Is, you know, if there is this horrible virus, show us the proof, show us it exists, show us how it's been proven that it causes disease, show us how it's been proven that it can be transmitted from one person to another, show us how your suffocation device actually stops that from happening, show us the law that tells us that we're not allowed to go in the store if we don't have one of these suffocation devices on our face, show us your justification for inflicting all of these mandates and proclamations upon us because you don't have it. And that's where we stand, and we're proven we're right. Both Peggy and I from day one have said the same thing, which is all the same thing all the truth tellers are telling you. You don't have to believe us. Check what we know. We'll show you where to find the information. We'll show you how to know what we know. And if you prove us wrong, we'll admit we're wrong. But if you don't, you're going to have to show us that, admit that we're right, and that what we're telling you is the truth. So, and the truth is the sword of God. Look at the power it has when you tell people truths. Everything Peggy just asked is incredibly valid and truthful and logical. And you either want to confront these issues and answer them honestly, or you have something to hide. If you're hiding something, you have some nefarious purpose. It's pretty much that simple. That's where I stand all day. So I could go on for another hour, but I think
let me say this, Dana, about the truth and deception. So evil thrives in darkness. And the fact that we are here asking these questions, exposing these evildoers, we are making a difference. Let me give you a couple of examples. So Josh Green New Deal, on the very first day that he was giving his news interviews, and I'm combing through these, I'm scouring them, I'm listening to them again and again to analyze and to read between the lies. And he said on one of the very first news interviews that we will build back better, which, you know, is the code word for the WEFers, the New World Disorder.
Yes.
You know, Biden says it, you know, Boris Johnson, Jacinda Ahern, all of the characters are saying this. And I did a video pointing that out, of how horrific that was, as if you're telling the Hawaiians that you know better than they do, that Lahaina wasn't good enough, that you want to do it better. And of course, he's on record he already created an emergency on about a week before this fire happened. He had a housing emergency, which gave him the authority under Hawaiian law to suspend any law that he wanted to. And so, which he very much did. He got rid of the, elected officials and put in his own people to start putting in these 15-minute cities. So this burn back better plan that that I exposed with his vocabulary, he has never said it again. Now, he still talks about resiliency and sustainability, and I'm going to continue to point that out as well. And ideally, he will stop peppering all of his speech with that. He also said that he was looking for ways for the state to purchase the land in Lahaina. And I, along with others, called him on that. And then he had to backpedal and say, well, I didn't really mean that. I meant the Hawaiians. So the fact that you and I and other people like us are exposing their evil deeds to the light, it is making a difference. And one last thing I want to say is this: the evildoers work on incrementalism. Since the dawn of mankind, since God created human beings, the enemy, call him Satan, the devil, what have you, those that oppose goodness and God want to destroy God's greatest creation, which is humanity. It's been going on for thousands of years. And that's the incrementalism. These guys, these evildoers are also doing that now. This Josh Green New Deal may not even see his dream come true. It may be his grandchildren now that usher in all of this shutdown totalitarianism, but he knows that he is playing a part in moving it forward slowly. You and I are playing a part in exposing it. So we're doing the incrementalism as well. We can't give up. Every person that is awakened to the truth, everybody that sees these videos, everybody that starts asking those questions that I post, that is a victory. I agree with you. I have two of my most precious qualities and attributes are optimism and determination, meaning I believe that something good can come from this, and I am determined to see that happen. So thank you so much for letting me come on, Dana. I hope we can do this again, and really appreciate you and all that you do.
Thank you so much. And yes, of course we can. You know, I'm firmly in your court all day, every day. I have been since day one, since I met you, and I saw your courage and your commitment and your eloquence and your passion and your dedication to faith. For those who do not know, this woman is an unapologetic Christian. I'm currently myself not a Christian, but I'm swimming in an ocean of Christians. I love my Christian friends, and they are very fond.
God loves us all equally, so that's good news.
Thank you. Well, they all love the term that I'm pretty sure it was who was it who said this originally? But I think it may have been Ohio Brett or Coach Dave. I don't remember Coach Dave Daubenmeyer of Coach Dave Live. Unapologetically Christian was the term. Unapologetically Christian. I think it was Dr. John Diamond. Anyway, so love you all, and I'm incredibly pleased to be here on the battlefield with you, and I would not be any other place. I had someone tell me you chose to be here, Dana. You know, that would totally be me. I would be like, put me in, Coach. I cannot let this happen. I cannot watch the evil, the sheer, raw, staggering evil that is permeating our world. Harm to children is their mantra. Lies, deceit, distortions, discord. They love discord. They love to get us to fight among ourselves. Did you hear what he said about you? You know, you can't work with him because he's white or black or rich or poor or Republican or Democrat or Scientologist or atheist. You know, we have to put all that aside and unite on the core principles that we are constitutional Americans. My rights are yours, yours are mine. And if we all unite, once we all get on the same page and we look for truth, this is what Peggy's talking about, which is so important, is to be discerning and look for information. I'm telling you information, Peggy's telling you information, other people telling you information. Absorb it all, make your own decisions about what's right and wrong and what is or isn't happening in the world, and demand accountability. If we all get together and demand accountability from these elected serpents, thank you for that, Peggy Hall, okay, they will be forced to confront the reality that we, the people, see them and we know what they're doing, and we're no longer going to let them do anything they want in the shadows. We haul them out into the light. We make them account for themselves, account for their deeds, and we tell them what we want them to do and what they will do. They don't tell us. We're not their servants. We rule them, not vice versa. So I know we're allied in that, and I know 99% of America's behind us on that. So let's all get on that page and make that happen, and then all of these problems will start to reverse. We'll start to make some progress. So Peggy, again, thank you so much for joining me. very grateful to you and everything. Her website is The Healthy American. So if you want to check out Peggy Hall, and I strongly encourage you to do this, you can subscribe to her newsletter, which I have done for some time. I'm incredibly pleased with all the helpful information that I get through that. I watch her on YouTube. She's careful what she says on YouTube because the dark overlord censors are there smashing us down with the ban hammer. She and I both have been banned on YouTube, slapped down a few times. So we're careful, but the truth is the sword of God. So
That's right.
it will get out come hell or high water. God bless America. And Dana, the Angry Citizen, signing out. Thank you all for your love and support. Appreciate you very much. And I will have more for you all soon. So take care. Peggy, thank you again for joining me. God bless you.
Thank you, Dana.